felt like just what it was needed. Clean in the blackest night, cloistered in injustice dead. And in the eyes of time, nobody is losing. Sparrows will be here by dawn. When we find this over, they'll be gone. The trees will bloom and ice will melt. We'll always remember how it felt. I can wait no longer. The sun will rise. I'll leave you go.